Here from Highway 51 Exchange, just south of Clinton. Let us service your lawn and garden equipment for spring with our quick turnaround and service specials for free pickup and delivery. Click our icon on DeWittDailyNews.com for details.
DeWittDailyNews.com is the area's leading local news source 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the latest local news, obituaries, police blotter, weather forecast, and more with no paywall. Head to DeWittDailyNews.com to get the local information you need to know.
Let's check the opening numbers now with the Chicago Board of Trade.
You're finding Central Illinois. WHOW.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. My guest on the phone, Jack Myers with Social Security. Jack, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Seth. How are you?
Doing all right. Thanks for asking. I think we are officially into the summer season, although it feels more like maybe an early May day rather than an early June day here this morning. But nonetheless, I guess welcome to summer, right?
Yeah, you're right. You know, it's been a little dreary and wet lately, but hey, we need the rainy days and the sunny days will come, right?
For sure. I agree with that. Very good. Hey, Jack, I'll tell you what, I know that you and I always do this conversation around this time of the year, baby names for the previous year. I saw this was released maybe a few weeks ago by Social Security. How about baby names? Let's start there today.
Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of a fun topic that we get to talk about. And you're right. Those came out. Usually they come out right around Mother's Day. So by the time, you know, we talk early in the month, so we miss it in May, but have a chance to touch on it in June. And if you're interested in the most popular national and state-specific baby names for 2024, you can get the list at our website. So go to socialsecurity.gov. If you want to navigate straight to it, you can go to socialsecurity.gov/baby names. We've got a variety of different types of data there. You can see the top 10 boys and girls names of 2024 for the U.S. And then, as I alluded to, you can also see state-specific lists. So if you're interested in seeing how Illinois or any of the other states differ from national naming trends, you can find that. You can also look for things like the historical popularity of a specific name. So that's kind of interesting. It's really kind of fun to see the trends. You know, the names are very trendy. You know, you can look at one particular name and see that it kind of ebbs and flows in terms of the popularity. And so that's kind of interesting to look at. And, you know, you might wonder, well, why does Social Security have a list of popular baby names? And, you know, the reality of it is it's just kind of easy for us to compile because through the process of issuing Social Security numbers, we have sort of become America's source for the most popular baby names because, you know, we already have the data. So we began compiling this list back in 1997, but the data goes all the way back to 1880. So it's a pretty robust list. You know, you can get a lot of good information and we just enjoy sharing it. It's something that people like to see. And we also kind of hope that while you're there at our website, socialsecurity.gov, checking this kind of stuff out, you'll take a few minutes to poke around and, you know, maybe find some information about our programs and hopefully create a My Social Security account for yourself so you can be better positioned to understand your Social Security and take a look at what your future benefits will be.
Now, Jack, you know, you talk about the popularity of baby names. It's interesting because a lot of folks I know, you know, they name their kids after whether it's family members or, you know, or it's some like a name they've always just been fond of, and so when it comes time to have kids, that's where they turn. You know, how much does this website get utilized? Are people checking out what the data that Social Security is putting out there?
They definitely are. You know, we start getting requests for this data, you know, around the time that it's going to come out. It's typically one of the highest volume periods of traffic on our website when we put this information out. So it's definitely something that people utilize. You know, I think it's a good idea when you think about it as a new parent, when you're trying to come up with a name for your child, it's a little bit challenging. It's a little bit daunting. You're thinking, hey, this is something that's going to be with my child for their whole life. So taking a look at this information, not necessarily that you are going to pick the name from these lists, but it just kind of helps. You can take a look at the popularity. You can go for something that's popular if that's what you're interested in. You can go for something that's less popular if that's what you're interested in. And you've got some information there in terms of just how popular those names are. And, we talked a little bit about the trending stuff or the trends. I looked up my name because back when I was a kid, there weren't too many people named Jack. I didn't have a lot of classmates named Jack. I didn't often have to go by my last initial because I was usually the only Jack around. But now, whenever I'm around, younger families, I swear I always have somebody. There's always a kid who's Jack.
Jack.
So it's much more popular.
Yep. Yeah, I was going to say that I as you were saying that, I was like, gosh, you know what? Some of the like when we cover sports and all of that stuff, I'm like, man, there's so many young people named Jack. It's really kind of a resurgence of a name, Jack.
Yeah. So I looked at, and when I was a kid or when I was born, it was like in the mid 100s, 150, 160, somewhere in that range in terms of popularity. On the 2024 list, it's the 15th most popular name. So definitely the data supports that. And I also looked up your name. So I looked up Seth, roughly, in the 80s, it was like 1980, it was the 99th most popular name. In 2024, it's 558. So it's just cyclical. It's just really interesting when you kind of start digging into the data there. It seems like the names come and go, and there is a cycle for most of these names.
Yeah. Now, so you talked about looking back at your name from when you were a kid, then search my name and roughly when I was a youngster. Can you do that can an individual jump on the Social Security website and say, hey, I was born in 2000. I was born in 2000. How was my, where was my name ranked at and where's it ranked at today? Is there like a chart or a graph that shows its popularity type of thing?
Yeah, there is. So you can go in on the baby names page and it says popularity of names. So you can put the name in and then you can choose. So it'll give you choices. Like I can check 2020 and later, 2000 and later, 1980 and later. I can go all the way to 1900 and later. And then I choose a sex associated with the name. So it kind of, that way so names that can be associated with a male or a female, you can choose if you want males with that name or females with that name, and then it'll tell you the popularity and it'll give you bar graphs. So you can not only look at the numbers in terms of rank, but you can also visually see the bar graph. And I think that bar graph is really kind of telling because it just gives you a visual snapshot of that popularity and the waves, if you will, if you look at all that old data, and that's available for anybody to see.
Easy enough. Well, Jack, you mentioned some of the popular names. What are the most popular names for this latest cycle of baby names?
Yeah, so for 2024, the national list will go by the top 10 for males, number 1 through 10. Number 1 was Liam, number 2 Noah, number 3 Oliver, 4 Theodore, 5 James, and then Henry, Mateo, Elijah, Lucas, and William. And then for the female names, number 1 was Olivia, number 2 Emma, number 3 Amelia, number 4 Charlotte, number 5 Mia, and then Sophia, Isabella, Evelyn, Ava, and then Sophia with an F. So Sophia with a PH was number 6. Sophia with an F was number 10. So there are a lot of little Sophias running around that were born in, or I guess they're not running around yet, but a lot of little Sophias that were born in 2024.
I have two daughters, Jack, and I am not kidding you. I think my kids know at least 8 out of these, maybe 6 or 7 out of these 10, maybe 8 out of these 10, that have these names. It's crazy.
That's funny.
Yeah, it is. It is. Nice. Very good. And you can get state-specific data and all of that too, right, Jack?
You can, yeah. Now, the state-specific data is a little bit more limited. You can't necessarily search like you can the national data, but you can get some state-specific data. You can pull the state. You can get the top 100 names in a state for a particular year, or you can pull the top 5 names in a state for a particular year. So you can get some state-specific data, and it is kind of interesting to see how the states change. And one thing that's kind of interesting when you pull the state-specific data is that it'll tell you the numbers. So if I go for Illinois and I look at number 2020 or 2024, Sophia with a PH, there were 452. And Sophia with an F, there were 388. So that's kind of another level or layer of data that you can get on the state level. There is the number of Social Security numbers assigned to children with those names.
Fun. It's always a good conversation there, Jack. Anything else on those we missed? If not, where do folks find all that data?
Yeah, again, that's on our website. So you can go to ssa.gov. And then right now, if you scroll down the bottom, there's a link to the baby names. Or you can just go to socialsecurity.gov/baby names, and you can find all that baby name data.
Jack Myers, Social Security, my guest on the phone today. And Jack, I'll tell you what, rather than dive into a new topic and have to break in the middle of it, let's just break now and we'll come back with some more. Again, Jack Myers, Social Security, our guest on the phone today. More to come with Jack on the morning show.
WHOW.
Let's check the opening numbers now at the Chicago Board of Trade on this Thursday. Jim Taylor, RFD Radio Network. A steady start with corn, beans, and Chicago wheat. July corn opening 440 and a quarter, up 1.5. September corn 429 and a quarter, up 1.25. And December corn 445 and a quarter, up 1.5. July beans starting the day 1043 and a half, down 1.25. August beans down half a penny, 1038 and a quarter. And November beans, 1025 and a half, up half a penny. July Chicago wheat, 547, up 3 3/4. September wheat up 4, 561 and a half. And December wheat, 583, up 4. July bean meal, 296.10, that's up $1. And July bean oil, 46.59, down 22 cents. Opening numbers on this Thursday morning. I'm Jim Taylor on the RFD Radio Network.
Baum Chevrolet Buick offers full transportation options while giving you peace of mind. This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick here in Clinton. This is what we do every day. We listen to you, give you options for routine maintenance, major mechanical problems, or collision repairs with a staff that's knowledgeable to find the best option for you. Baum Chevrolet Buick, your full-service dealer. See us at baumchevybuick.com right from the start.
If you've got allergies this season, we have relief. CEO Paul Skowron here from Warner Hospital and Health Services in Clinton. Come to our walk-in clinic inside our family medicine. No appointment, no problem. See our icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
DeWittDailyNews.com is the area's leading local news source 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the latest local news, obituaries, police splatter, weather forecast, and more with no paywall. Head to DeWittDailyNews.com to get the local information you need to know.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. My guest on the phone today, Jack Myers with Social Security. Jack, let's talk a little bit about working and receiving Social Security retirement benefits and the things we need to know there. What do you got for us?
Yeah, that's a great topic because we get a lot of questions about that. And, a lot of times it centers around, can I work and receive Social Security retirement benefits? So we should talk a little bit about that. And one thing I want to point out is the limits that I'll talk about here apply to Social Security benefits that are not disability-based. So if you receive disability-based Social Security benefits or supplemental security income benefits, there's a whole different set of rules that apply, and you must report all earnings to us. So with that disclaimer, if you will, out of the way, let's talk about limits that pertain if you're getting Social Security retirement or spouse or widow or children's benefit. One of the things you have to be aware of is that there is an annual earnings limit, and your age determines whether that limit applies and even which earnings limit applies. So if you are younger than your full retirement age for the entire calendar year, now full retirement age is going to be 67, or if you're born 1960 or later, it's 67. If you're born prior to 1960, it's going to be a little bit less than 67. Most likely for people that are listening today, your full retirement age is probably somewhere between 66 and 67. So if you're under that full retirement age for the full calendar year in 2025, you can earn up to $23,400. If you earn more than that, the penalty would be $1 of Social Security for every $2 that you go over the earnings limit. And basically that would be enforced a couple different ways, Seth. So if you were to tell us up front that you're going to earn more than that limit, what we would do is we would hold enough full Social Security payments to cover your anticipated overage. But we don't always know that. So if you don't realize that you're going to earn more than the limit, what we would do is we'd pay you all of your Social Security benefits. And then if you ended up making too much money, we may have paid you too much. So you may have an overpayment. You'd be asked to repay that overage once we discover it, but there wouldn't be any additional fines or interest or anything like that. So you're not getting in any trouble. You're just asked to pay it back. And that by itself, though, is unpleasant enough. So it's better to tell us in advance if you can, if you think you're going to be over the earnings limit. So that's if you're under the full retirement age for the whole year. Now, if you reach your full retirement age in 2025, there is a limit for the portion of the year that you're under, but it's a lot higher. So it would be $62,160 between January and the month that you attain that full retirement age. Then also, if you exceed that limit prior to the full retirement age, the penalty would be 1 for 3. So, it's a little less harsh, I guess. And then the other thing you need to know is once you get to that full retirement age, there's no limit. So you can earn as much as you want without any kind of penalty once you're at that full retirement age. And then a couple huge takeaways with this, Seth, is number one, these limits only pertain if you are choosing to collect monthly benefits prior to the attainment of your full retirement age. So if you're still working and you're not collecting benefits, then these limits don't matter. Also, if you are collecting benefits and you're hearing these limits and you're thinking, okay, how's this going to apply to me? Keep in mind that these limits pertain only to earned income. So we're talking about gross wages or net earnings from self-employment. We're not looking at pension income. We're not looking at investment income. So there are a lot of different types of income that is potentially taxable. Not all of those income types apply to these limits. Only earned income, again, gross wages, net earnings from self-employment, apply to these limits.
Now, how about monthly limits? Because some folks may not have that regular income on a yearly basis and those sorts of things. Jack, are there monthly considerations to this?
Generally speaking, if you're on retirement or any non-disability based income, we're not looking at monthly. We're looking at your annual income. However, there is a special rule that would potentially consider your monthly income that first year of retirement. And, basically this would be applicable if you retire during the year and have already exceeded the annual earnings limit. An example that I can present is, let's say you're 63 and you retire June 30th. So you're looking ahead and you're thinking, I'm going to retire at the end of this month. But prior to June 30th, or up to June 30th anyway, you're going to earn $50,000 and then you're done. You're retiring June 30th. Well, when you hear me say that there's a limit of $23,400, you might think, well, shoot, if I stop working June 30th, I've already made way too much money for this year. so I can't get Social Security. But that wouldn't be true, because this one time we could apply the special monthly earnings rule, and we could say, since you retired on June 30th and you're not working at all July through December of 2025, you would be eligible to collect Social Security payments July through December, and we would pay you because your earnings July through December are below the monthly limit of $1,950. So we know you're over 23.4 for the year, but this 1 year, this first year of retirement, we'll look at your monthly income from the point you start collecting Social Security on, and we'll pay you on the basis of what we call non-service months. So you got to stay below $1,950 a month in order to qualify for that. It's not a 1-for-2 thing, but as long as you stay below that $1,950 July through December, we could pay you the rest of this year on the basis of those non-service months. So we would look at monthly, and then once the calendar turns to 2026, you'd be back to an annual limit. So the 23.4 or whatever next year's limit would apply, and it'd be for the whole year. So, we wouldn't necessarily care what you did on a monthly basis in 2026, and you would be subject to that annual limit. So for the rest of 2025, stay below $1,950 a month and you'd be eligible for payments. And then in 2026, you just have to stay below the 23.4. And that's how a person who decides to collect benefits halfway or at some point during a calendar year can be eligible, even if you made too much in relation to that annual limit prior to retirement. This is a ton of info, Seth. I realize that. On our website at ssa.gov, under the publication section, we have a great pamphlet that talks about all of it. It's called How Work Affects Your Benefits, and it'll go through all of these things that I just talked about. So it's a must read for anybody who wants to collect benefits prior to full retirement age and continue working.
Jack, let's wrap it up today talking about a My Social Security account that was created prior to, looks like September 2021, and transitioning to that login.gov or ID.me. Let's real quick hit on this in our last few minutes.
Yep, you got it. So, we have our My Social Security accounts that we talk about all the time. It's a great tool for not only conducting business with us, but also for planning for your future. If you created that account prior to September 18th of 2021, you may have set up a username and password. After September 18th, 21, we made you use login.gov or ID.me to create the account. Well, starting in March of this year, end of March, we were requiring you to transition to the login.gov or ID.me if you hadn't already done so. But we were still allowing you to log in with that old account and do that transition. But starting this weekend, so coming Saturday, the ability to transition over to the new style of account won't be there anymore. So your old login information will be completely deactivated. So if you have that old style account, I encourage you to go in before Saturday and transition it to the login.gov or ID.me account. Now, if you don't do that, all is not lost. You can still create a new login.gov or ID.me account after Saturday, but it'll just be a little bit more involved than what it would be if you just make the transition, today or tomorrow.
Jack, great stuff. Again, one more time, where do folks find that info?
You can find information at our website, ssa.gov, or you can call us at 800-772-1213.
Very good. Hey, Jack, safe travels this summer. We'll talk to you in July.
All right. Thanks. You too, Seth.
That's Jack Myers with Social Security, our guest on the phone today. The morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance.